What up, perps? King Copious back in effect. Purple State Party. You know what we're doing here. We're repping America, the center, common sense, freedom, and above all, peace in the Middle East. Don't know if that'll ever happen, but that's a story for a different day. We got a lot to cover today, so we're just going to get this thing. I saw a bumper sticker with an American flag, and it said, "This is my pride flag." I thought, wow, way to say you're a douche without saying you're a douche. My God, man, that is not America. My America don't care if you're queer. It's pure and simple. Right now we've got so many double standards coming out of both parties. It's just ridiculous. I mean, you see that, oh, my pride flag, right? So we know where you stand on the whole gay issue. And you've got lefties out freaking protesting for Muslims, but at the same time, they're scared to death of a Speaker of the House who's Christian. And I think to myself, well, both religions don't have a great track record when it comes to LGBT rights. Okay. But which one is really actively still practicing it? That's why we need the middle, because these far right and these far left ways of thinking are just fucking stupid. Speaking of stupid, here's Gavin Newsom doing his best Paul Revere impersonation. The commies are coming. The commies are coming. Quick, clean up the poop and move the homeless. Yep, that's what they did. They had some APEC summit, Asian Pacific Economic Conference, I think it was. Probably just made that up. I might have gotten it right. But yeah, they cleaned up the homeless. They moved them out of town for the visiting dignitaries. Babylon B. Newsom deploys giant can of Febreze over San Francisco to mask Pooh smell. California set up President G dummy so Newsom will keep the cities clean all the time. Yeah. He cleans it up for, that's our enemy. G is our enemy. President Xi arrives to inspect newest Chinese colony. We are, they talk about these historic deals that were struck here, Communist dictator welcomes President Xi. But anyhow, they talk about how they've reached this agreement on green energy. And we already know China doesn't really give a shit about holding up their end of the bargain. I mean, it's a difference of the way different cultures think about things. From good or bad, it's not necessarily a judgment. It's doing what's best for your country. So Winnie the Pooh there, he's going to get all kinds of green dollars, and he's supposed to clean up his act. Well, we're really supposed to trust China? I mean, really? They have been involved in a lot of the last wars we fought. Korea, they were directly involved in. Vietnam, they were directly involved in. And now they make a lot of money, sell into places like Iran that then turn around and pass weapons and supplies on to terrorist organizations. They are committing genocide on the Uyghur people. They are not allies of freedom. They're communists. It's infuriating that it took a visit from Xi for Newsom to lift a finger to clean up California. You know why? Because we're not good enough. That's why us, the average citizen, the average taxpayer, is not good enough. We're not worth their effort. We'll get a little more into that, but a hilarious side story. Well, hilarious in the fact that this is one of those you get what you paid for type things. They created a zone around San Francisco, parts of San Francisco, to keep the summit attendees safe. And a Czech news crew went around outside of the bubble to capture what they were hoping would be look how great San Francisco is moment. They were robbed at gunpoint. $18,000 loss. And look where it's getting reported all over the place. So yeah, this works really well for tourism in San Francisco, doesn't it? North Carolina heard about it. They're at the a famous location at 5 p.m. 5 p.m. The thieves ran up and pointed firearms at the cameraman's stomach, and another one pointed one at the reporter's head. And they took off. The event dampened the journalist's version of his trip to San Francisco, which was loosely inspired by Jack Kerouac's On the Road. I was so much looking forward to visiting your city. Whoops. And it's not the first time. I mean, imagine how brazen these criminals must be to rob news crews. That's freaking crazy. A CNN senior correspondent cleaned out by thugs in March. Another reporter covering crime was robbed. The thieves have also reportedly taken to targeting engagement photo shoots in the city. So they roll up on people who are trying to capture moments of their lives and rob them in broad daylight. In broad daylight. In the city of San Francisco, which is not that big, folks. Not a giant city. Look at the kind of crime that they have there. 31,000 reports of larceny theft. 2,100 robberies. 5,200 burglaries. That's 23 a day. 23 robberies or burglaries every single day in San Francisco. Larceny theft, 97 a day. Larceny theft, the most common form of that, stealing out of a car. Robbery is you put a gun to somebody's head. Burglary is breaking into an unoccupied building, or unoccupied meaning nobody's in the building at the time. Or they could be, but you're breaking into a building. Larceny theft is stealing out of cars. And what are they doing about it? And even if they were to do a crackdown, keep an eye on the hot spots, arrest some of the bad actors, these people get out. Here in LA, they want to do the zero bail. And when people talk about the problems associated with just letting criminals revolve through the doors of justice, our DA Gascon defends it by saying, well, people on bail still reoffend. It actually takes longer now to see a judge, sometimes up to almost a month before the case goes before trial. In the old days of bail, it was something like 48 hours. See, if you could get somebody in front of a judge in 48 hours and get them sentenced and locked away, maybe you could cut down on some of this crime. But if you're just going to let them out, if you're just going to work for them, essentially, how do you think it's ever going to work? People say this didn't happen 20 years ago. Well, it did in the 90s. There were huge problems in our cities. And one of the ways that we fixed it was with enhancements. Committing crimes with a gun, that's some extra time. Being part of a gang, that's some extra time. Our DAs used to look for ways to keep people in jail longer. Now, they don't even want to put them in jail. We're going to get to some of the motives behind all this shit. And ultimately, what happens in these cities that just get ignored by corrupt politicians, the city goes downhill. The Oakland A's are now moving to Las Vegas. Yeah, greener pastures. Not much left there. 3 chain businesses near Oakland Coliseum shut down due to rampant car break-ins. 2 of those were Starbucks. A small plaza covered with warning signs. This is about a security guard here, David. He now alerts customers. When he sees people not leave their purse in their car, he gets on a megaphone. Hey, pick up your purse. They'll take it. He warns them, hey, be careful of the people that, are pulling up behind you. Secure your vehicle, blah, 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 blah. Because, as he says, the criminals, I cannot touch them because of our law. They're going to sue me. I've already been sued one time, he said. What's the point of having security guards if they can't interdict the criminals? I mean, we're seeing it all over the place. Now, people could talk about, they're inflating the numbers, blah, 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 blah. The fact is, we see the videos. We see the craziness. I mean, Going back to that previous story, you are robbing people who are filming news. That's how brazen it is. And people could call it petty theft, larceny theft, or they were stealing because they need it. No, a lot of them are stealing because they need drugs. And we don't do anything about that. We allow that to gush out onto the streets. You know, I was doing a little bit of critical thinking, aka wake and bake. But I was thinking about what I agreed with on each side. It's kind of like a column A, column B type thing. And it dawned on me, I had one of those epiphanies. As long as it doesn't require effort, the left is correct. But if the task is difficult, they fail. Because ideas are easier than work. Think about it. Gay marriage, easy, let them get married. Abortion rights, let them have an abortion. Weed, make it legal. It's easy peasy. The border, no answer, just open it up. Crime, well, maybe if we're nice to the criminals, they'll go away. Drugs, maybe if we allow them to do drugs, it'll clean itself up. Homelessness, let's pay people millions and billions of dollars to help the homeless stay homeless so that they can all collect paychecks and then they can give me campaign donations. But I don't have any real answers. Inflation, the economy, fuel sources, that's not easy. Why don't we have hydroelectric dams in California, more of them? Why aren't we constructing waterways to feed those dams, to get us electricity or put up nuclear reactors? Because then you'd have to stand up to some of your biggest donors, aka supporters. That's hard. Civil rights, easy. Black people deserve the same rights as white people. Trans athletes, hey, easy route. Let them compete. And of course, everybody deserves rights. Sure, but let them do as they will. That's their solution to everything. The criminals deserve rights. We can't collect water. Dams are bad. We can't maintain forests. Let nature handle it. Can't maintain cities. Criminals are people too. See, it's easy. Stupid, worthless answers. Either the problem is a simple solution of just let them do it, or it doesn't work from these guys. It simply doesn't. Let's look at drugs. That's a great example. Only 30% at best will turn their lives around. I'm one of those 30%. Can you believe it? I'm 31, 31 years sober, 30 years married. But I'm that 30%. Some, like myself, will pick ourselves up by our bootstraps and get on. Some will require, a little bit of help. They might not be fully fixable, but you can get them to a point where maybe they're contributing to society and not harming themselves. Maybe they could work their way back into their family and friends, good graces. But a majority are going to require incarceration. And maintaining jails, prisons, and prisoners is hard work. Tough choices need to be made. First U.S. state to decriminalize hard drugs may be set for swift U-turn. Oregon legalized fentanyl, heroin, all of that. And, it had more than a majority of the vote, more than half the vote. And now that number's flip-flopped. Because it has 2021, 2 years later, they've already seen this isn't working. Because their Measure 110 was the belief, just read off the screen. Underpinning the original initiative known as Measure 110 was the belief that decriminalizing hard drugs would make it easier to get addicts into treatment. How you would have thought this, I don't really ever know. I never did understand that, but these are what happens when laws are made by people who don't really understand both sides of it. You see what I mean? Those cited would be fined $100, but the penalty would be lifted if the addict rang a self-help line and sought treatment. Well, just pay the $100 and you can go do more drugs. And in Oregon, according to Eugene's police chief, Chris Skinner, around 6,000 people were cited, but fewer than 125 rang the self-help line. That's not even 30%. 30% would be 1,800. Look at me doing math. I couldn't even tell you what that is. I'm guessing that something like 2%-ish actually sought help. Because why? And oddly enough, only about 30% of the people cited were actually from Oregon. And it doesn't matter, you're in Oregon, so the Oregon laws apply. It's that theory of 30. There seems to always be a number somewhere around 30. Like 30% of people will believe whatever the Democrats say or whatever the Republicans say, despite all the evidence in the world. Hey, look, it's just the way it is. But the police are not really calling for a reversal of the measure. I don't really get that. They're backing making drug possession an offense once again so addicts can be compelled to have treatment. It is really simple. If you are going to spend a year in jail, or you could clean up, submit to drug testing, submit to, attending programs, working the programs, staying sober, getting a job, finding an actual place to live. The government should help out with that. I have no problem with that. But those should be your choices. Those were my choices. I speak as somebody who knows what happens when you're given the choice between jail and rehab. I saw it with my own eyes. And that's what I asked for. I mean, I don't want to shit hammer every single person on the street who's living on the streets doing drugs. That's not the purpose of what I'd want to do. But you got a choice. Clean up or shit hammer. It's not that hard. But it's a difficult thing to sell. It's a difficult thing to maintain. But somebody like me, I don't mind doing the difficult things. That's one of the reasons why I left the left. Far from solving the problem, there is evidence that the liberal experiment is attracting addicts from elsewhere. Lacking the capacity to offer treatment to thousands of addicts has been overwhelmed. The whole system has just been overwhelmed. Even if they could get people to volunteer for these treatments, they just don't have them. Well, you want to do the easy thing and just let them do drugs? Overdoses, crime, rampant street people, disintegration of communities and cities. That's the price you're going to pay. You're willing to sink the ship because it's easier to drill a hole in the bottom of the boat. That's not a great analogy. So let's move on. Biden mulls approval of a fresh $10 billion for Iran. So this is money that Iran sort of earned by selling electricity to Iraq, but it was held in escrow. And, it was one of those things where Iran could probably borrow against it, but they couldn't have it. We were probably hoping for a regime change. But Biden is going to release this. And he's going to spin the lies. Do you really believe that a country like Iran is going to say, oh, yes, we'll only use it for humanitarian purposes? They're not. See, Trump administration first allowed Iraq to import electricity and gas from Iran, but on the condition that the payments were kept in escrow. There you go. That's how it happened. Trying to do something difficult, saying, hey, you know what? Iraq needs power. The longer it doesn't have basic services, the more threat they become because, people just tend to spiral in their thinking over there. But it had to be held in escrow. Well, Biden wants to undo that. just like he's undone everything Trump did, whether it was good or bad. If Trump did it, we're going to undo it. Right. The Biden administration continued to issue that waiver and then broadened it in July so that Iraq can move more than $10 billion outside the country, enabling Tehran to draw on the funds for its budget and humanitarian needs. Right. Right. That's how they try to hide it. And humanitarian needs. What's its budget? AK-47s and rockets for fucking Hamas and Hezbollah? And again, enough of that. Biden, man. I mean, what is it with, you understand, just a nonstop deluge of bad ideas. Biden administration proposes limiting environmental reviews to speed up renewables, to promote the development of clean energy and supporting infrastructure. Right. So who gives a shit what the environmental impact is of a solar farm or a bunch of windmills out in the ocean? Who cares about that? Oh, yeah, we'll just let that go. But the things that we need, like the housing, are still just going to be regulated to the point where it's not even feasible to make low-income housing here in California? Okay. It's his agenda. It doesn't matter. We're not worth it. That's what it is. TikTok who shared Bin Laden video didn't know about Palestine before Hamas attack. Sometimes I call them the young and the dumb. And I know it's not every young person, but a lot of these people really are. Osama bin Laden's letter to America. The only thing interesting in that was that Osama said, don't kill Biden because we need to kill Obama, and then Biden will take over, and he's not up for the task. So we made Osama bin Laden's day electing Biden. That's great. Right. The letter to America has gained widespread attention. You know what? They wear shirts with Che Guevara on it. They'll follow anybody that their little professors tell them is a freedom fighter. Quick comparisons here. Pro-Israel, anti-Israel. Another pro-Palestinian mob attacked police officers. Members of Congress were evacuated. The Capitol was locked down. Are they going to do anything? No. Because it's their side. It's their supporters. Hamas says all AK-47s found in Gaza hospital were strictly for medicinal use. The scam here in America that keeps the left alive is that companies now require a college education for menial entry-level jobs. So people with money, people in the middle class and above, they're going to get to go to good schools, and other people are going to go to less good schools. But we're going to cover the ones who come in with daddy's money, so to speak. You know, you just want that degree. So you take flimsy classes to get a flimsy degree. You're not going to take anything that's difficult. You take fluff classes taught by substandard teachers who can't teach other subjects. And since both the professor and the rich students have white guilt, they bond over these flimsy leftist catchphrases to make themselves the victim, to make themselves the freedom fighter. And then when they graduate and become the worker consumers, they only know the left. And they don't have the capacity to apply critical thinking. So they can't or they won't deviate from what the left puppet masters say. They just vote for the D. They vote for the D and figure out a way to make themselves the victim. And with the Democrats in power, they will always reassure these people that, yes, indeed, you are the victim. That's why they're supporting Palestine. It's easier to paint Palestine as the victim than Israel as the victim. It's just easier, even though Israel was the victim of an attack. These people don't possess critical thinking ability. But meanwhile, the people who didn't get to go to the great colleges, and I'm not saying this is in particular or every single one or anything like that, but cheaper college, even down to trade school. People are there for jobs, for rhetoric. Their classes are geared toward jobs, so there's no room for the political brainwashing. I mean, imagine, it's easier to espouse like Lenin and Mao when the class is 17th century literature through the eyes of a Polish woman than advanced biology. So when you take an advanced biology, wants to learn about biology. But if you're in a fluff class and your professor has a BLM flag up, then you wear a BLM t-shirt because all you're trying to do is pass that class. And all that professor wants to do is just keep passing people. That's it. I'm going to assign you the book that I wrote. You're going to read it. I'm going to espouse all my theories to you. You're going to shake your head and agree, and I'm going to give you a pass. Whereas at other places and other degrees and majors and things like that, you have to actually learn something. Learn a little something about me. I don't know why I have such a fierce loyalty to the A-10 Warthog, also known as the Thunderbolt. Man's day sure would be brightened if an A-10 Warthog would fly overhead right about now. Yeah, America's so prejudiced against that plane. It's one of the greatest planes. It supports the guys on the ground. And they keep trying to get rid of it. Obama tried to get rid of it. You know, even G.I. Joe had to diss my A-10. You know, they turned it into the Rattler for Cobra. Cobra was a terrorist organization. And yet you could buy toys of theirs. That was weird. We're going to close with this. Rob Reiner, a vote for no labels is a vote for Trump. A vote for Bobby Kennedy is a vote for Trump. Blah, 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 blah. Roseanne Barr, a vote for Biden is a vote for Iran. The only vote for America is a vote for Donald Trump. Yep. Rob Reiner, trying to keep relevant. But, you know, he's one of the stalwarts of the liberals. He'll be liberal till the day he dies. He doesn't want a third party. He wants that D. Because that's what it's about. It doesn't matter if Cornel West is the better choice. It's not your choice. It's not your team. Roseanne Barr is the same way. The problem is that Biden has done so much damage in 3 years compared to the first 3 years of Donald Trump that I don't really know where the damage was done. I don't see it. I just don't. So, I mean, if we have to choose between Donald Trump or the D's, I mean, I'd rather have it be Trump. But you notice two of these very outspoken celebrities are really just shilling for the party. The two-party system must die. It does not work. Nobody is representing how the average American feels. The average American taxpayer feels. We need to have change. And it's not going to come with candidates that are stuck to political ideology, that are too afraid to change. We need a party of change. We need a purple party. We need somebody who's going to take the pulse of America and react to that pulse and saying, this is where Americans feel about this. Boom. We know how America feels about a lot of things. We need to tighten our borders. We need to free our cities from the clutches of just drug dealers, drug addicts, and criminals. And a woman deserves a right to have an abortion. And everybody deserves rights. And when it comes down to a clash of rights, we need to use common sense. Take the pulse of America. Now these two knuckleheads just want us stuck in our little corners. Yeah, Rob Reiner, Roseanne Barr, Kid Copious, Purple State Party, and so are you. Love one another. Be kind to yourself. And keep peace in your heart. And dance it out.